Morning, all. All right, so just two games tonight. Just two. That's it. And so pretty easy to follow, right? 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific start between the Florida Panthers and the Boston Bruins. So last night, the Islanders stave off elimination. Tonight, the Florida Panthers will be looking to do the same thing and then force a game six at home like the Islanders did. So for Florida, it really is a matter of potentially overcoming a Boston team that now has Bergeron back. It's potentially possible, anyways. They're being very cagey about it, but I think he's coming back. Officially, he's a game time decision according to Jim Montgomery. We shall see. For Florida, their goaltending, Lyon, 902 save percentage. Bobrovsky, an 846 save percentage in his appearances. I would think they go with Lyon. We'll see. On the Boston side, Ullmark, a 926 save percentage. And Swayman, in a very brief appearance, saved everything he saw, so he has a 1,000 save percentage. You can hold that overall. Mark's had a little bit, right? Like, I didn't allow a goal these playoffs. How about you? All right, and then at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, the Seattle Kraken and the Colorado Avalanche play their Game 5. Of course, this series is surprisingly tied at 2. Now, there will be no Jared McCann tonight for the Seattle Kraken, of course. There will be no Cale Makar tonight for the Colorado Avalanche. So that does dramatically impact both teams. McCann, the only 40 goal scorer the Seattle Kraken have had in their history. It is only 2 years, of course, but he is their 40 goal scorer. And Makar, the one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League, being out for a game, it may very well impact Colorado's fortunes tonight. On the goaltending front, Grubauer has outdueled Georgiev. 916 save percentage for Grubauer to Georgiev's 908. So for Georgiev, he's giving them competent goaltending. Grubauer, I still think, against his former team, you want to show up a team that you played for. And so, yeah, for Grubauer, this series has been kind of fun, I would imagine. And again, for Seattle, there's no pressure. None. If they win tonight, then Game 6 would mean extreme pressure, of course, because you wouldn't want to go back to Denver for Game 7. But, yeah, there's no pressure on Seattle. And I do think that has an impact come playoff time. Now, last night, with the win by the New York Islanders, all 16 teams this year have at least one road win. And it's the first time that's happened since 2012, and that's the only time that's ever happened, that 16 of 16 teams in the National Hockey League playoffs have recorded a road win. It has been favorable for road teams in these playoffs. We'll see if that continues tonight. Obviously, you've got Boston and Colorado at home. They're going to be favorites. But yeah, there have been upsets and road wins throughout. And Florida did have a win in Boston earlier in the series. Seattle did have a win in Colorado already in this series. So we shall see, because of course all 16 teams have road wins. So obviously those teams would have them as well. This is the kind of insight that people come back for. This is absolutely. So speaking of which, the Global Series was announced by the National Hockey League today. It will be in Stockholm, Sweden. The 4 teams participating will be Detroit, Minnesota, Ottawa, and Toronto. So this is a little different than what we've seen before. It's going to be a round robin setup. And I do think that the rumors that the NHL was looking at having the longest continuous run of play of games being on, I think this is the week where we're going to see it. I would also say that it is possible that we see 16 games that day. Just out of, at any rate, November 16th, Detroit's against Ottawa. Now, that's on a Thursday. That is at 10 o'clock Pacific, so my time, 10 a.m. 10 a.m. the next day, November 17th, it will be Detroit against Toronto. So Detroit gets both of their games out of the way, and then they're done with their global experience. On November 18th, which is a Saturday, at 7 a.m. Pacific, Minnesota and Ottawa. I very well likely will be up and watching for that. Because I don't know how late hockey's going to go on Friday. It might be a bit of a challenge. And then I kind of tap out when I see the 19th. The November 19th game, which is on a Sunday, starts at 4 a.m. Pacific. Now, on Saturday night, of course, I do the power rankings. There's usually a ton of games on every Saturday. And so, yeah, 4 a.m. Pacific would mean that, hey, so 4 hours after you're done those power rankings, can you get up and watch a hockey game between the Wild and the Toronto Maple Leafs? My answer right now is, unless I have insomnia, probably not. So that's what I'm looking at and saying that one I may just watch the highlights of when I get up that morning, because that's really early, and it's a Sunday, so we may have a bunch of hockey on that Sunday. Anyways, we'll see when the schedule comes out. But the Minnesota versus Toronto game that ends it, That should be a fun one. And again, for people in Europe, that's a perfectly respectable time for you guys. And by having the game that early, it means it's done early, and then the players can go back over to North America and get ready for, uh, you know, playing the rest of their games here. The interesting note is, of course, that teams have had struggles when they come over and they've played in Europe. They've played those games, but we'll see if that's the case this coming year or not. Michael Bunting is skating with extras ahead of Game 5. This was something that I had figured that Toronto, being up 3-1, winning 3 games in a row without Bunting in the lineup, means that when Bunting is healthy and allowed to play, so his suspension is over, it doesn't necessarily mean he jumps into the lineup because you don't want to mess with that lineup. You've won 3 in a row. You're against a team that's been in 3 straight Stanley Cup finals. You want to close out the series. So for Toronto, in an effort to close out said series, he doesn't look like he's playing tomorrow. I say doesn't look like because you never know. A guy could get hurt at practice. There could be something happens in warm up, and he may end up in the lineup. But at this point, Bunting is skating with extras, and it looks like he's going to be watching from the sidelines, which has to be tough for Bunting, right? To get that suspension and then have to watch 3 games, and now he's going to have to watch a fourth. But hey, we'll see how it goes. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.